Hello, I am back so soon. Yes, did you miss me? Happy Saturday to me. Happy day to you. Now, I'll be honest. I am tired. I have one of those sleep headaches. It's like here and up in here. And it's not a throbbing, annoying headache. I just notice it. And today is a restful day. I wanted to record. At first, I was thinking, maybe not because I just want to lay down. Excuse me. However, I'm here and I'm gonna record anyway. So it's not exhausting for me to sit here and speak to you all. And with that being said, the sun is shining so beautifully. And the beverage of today is water. Let me twist the cap off first. Let's cheers. Cheers. Make sure to cover the brand. I don't need y'all knowing where I live at. It may come out. Who knows? Most of you all watching know anyway. Some of y'all I don't know like that, and if you need to know where I live, you will find out. Don't worry. But in the meantime, my location is not as important. I'm just here to spread the word of God. So, the message and topic for today is comparison. Now, I will be honest. I thought the quote, comparison is the thief of joy, was in the Bible. Nope. Google gives credit to Theodore Roosevelt. Great quote. And I learned something new. And as simple as that quote is, it is very accurate. And before I get into that, I won't just be speaking about how comparison is a thief of joy. I want to touch on the pros and cons of comparison. So, comparison can be the thief of joy because, and here we are with the burps. Now, I think the burps are going to be paid actors at this point because they like to show up. So, comparison. When we are so focused on what other people are doing, we are missing the time we have to do what we need and want and make the most of that time. And usually the con of comparison is that we are desiring what other people have, and it creates a void and a sense of lack, and that doesn't feel good to think that we're lacking something, or just acknowledging it, because there are things that we lack. Doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's not the end of the world. It's just reality. We don't have everything. And if that lack and that void becomes bigger, it's as if our vision is just fixated on what we lack, and that creates a hunger to do something irrational. Now, some of the points I make today may tie into yesterday's video on envy, and I want to jump in with scripture. So, this one is a long one, bear with me. Galatians 6:1-5. Brothers, if anyone is caught in any sin, you who are spiritual That is you who are responsive to the guidance of the Spirit, are to restore such a person in a spirit of gentleness, not with a sense of superiority or self righteousness. Keeping a watchful eye on yourself so that you are not tempted as well. That's just the first verse. I want to slow that one down because the key here is people that are responsive to the guidance of the Spirit. You are in a position to gently lead and restore someone that is not so responsive to the Spirit. Gently, not with a sense of superiority or self righteousness. What that means, as plain as day, is when we are called to restore someone, you don't have to know it all and be on a pedestal and talk down on people. Just help, because maybe you've been there before, and so you know what it's like. And when you were in that position, did it feel good for you to be spoken down on, as if you just don't know what you're doing or don't have it together? As I've said in previous videos, we don't know everything. We need help, and we will always need help because we won't know everything. We won't have everything. So we can all use help somewhere. Even if you weren't in that person's shoes before, just guide them with gentleness and love. We don't need the extra superiority and the self-righteousness. What good does that do? Humble yourself, because when you are in a position of help, again, remember, it won't feel good for someone to speak down on you and to be self-righteous and superior and to treat you as inferior. Verse 2. Carry one another's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the requirements of the law of Christ. That is the law of Christian love. So, Christian love, I think immediately of loving our neighbor and uplifting one another and lending a hand, helping those in need. That sounds like that agape love. And not and adding on to that, the love that, and I know I use agape love, but I actually want to be specific in what that means. The highest form of love, charity, and the love of God for human beings, and of human beings for God. So it's selfless, sacrificial, unconditional, and everlasting. And that is the requirement when we carry other people's burdens. That is the law that we are fulfilling, that agape love, that agape spirit. And that part is standing out to me, carrying another's burdens, because there are ways to do that. Perfect example, the saying, look at the cup half full versus half empty. And if you have room to give, it's okay to carry another person's burdens. As humans, we do that in ways that we don't realize, sometimes emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And so, if you can carry another person's burdens and make room for them while making sure your cup isn't running out, you are in a position where you can be of support, and likely your cup will continue to be filled because you are filling that requirement of Christ and receiving something good from it, whether it's admiration or thanks, maybe something physical, or just that internal satisfaction of knowing that you could be there to support somebody. Verse 3. Get ready. For if anyone thinks he is something special, when in fact he is nothing special except in his own eyes, he deceives himself. You're doing it to yourself. You are deceiving yourself by claiming to be more special than you really are. That hurts, doesn't it? It hurts because you think you're up here, what they say. You think your poop doesn't stink. I'm not gonna say the S word. That's what you walking around like your boo boo don't stink. Guess what? It does at times. Okay, it's okay to acknowledge that. Now, if you're not acknowledging that and acting as if it doesn't stink, though, you're lying to yourself. Don't do that. The worst thing to do is to lie to yourself because it holds you back. When you can acknowledge that your poop stinks and that you're not so special, guess what? You're already at the point where that acknowledgement and awareness allows you to make progress because you can say, well, I want to be special. I want to feel special. I don't want my poop to stink. So, what can I do differently? Now, literal poop, it just stinks sometimes, even when you're eating the best of the best. It's gonna likely still stink. So forget the literal poop. However, when you think that you are just on top of the world and untouchable and just a hot commodity, and you're really not, you are self-sabotaging yourself and, shooting yourself in the foot essentially. Don't do that. Be honest. Have some humility, because I guarantee being honest will get you a lot further, will get you more respect than not being honest with yourself. And if people make fun of you for not having it all together, let God handle them, because remember, they don't have it all together either. So they're mocking you. Just wait until they realize they don't have it together. They are going to burn inside because they can't even stand to look at themselves. So one of my favorite things to remind myself of is that people judging me and criticizing me is a reflection of them. Now, is there a way to criticize constructively? Yes. And I'm not speaking on that. I'm speaking of people just wanting to stomp all over you and beat you up and don't care to uplift you. Those are the people that God can deal with. And it's a reminder to not let it get to me, because they're dealing with something beyond me, not for me to take on, and taking it personally will not do me any good. It's better to brush that off, walk away, and unfortunately, and I think about this because I think I had an example. I can't think. So, I do have an example. And the example is specific to when I was doing everything right and being kind intentionally. I knew my intentions were genuine and I wanted to be kind and caring and loving, and I was still met with backlash. I was still accused of doing something wrong and spoken down on, and my character was attacked. That was an example of a time where I knew I did nothing to receive that. I didn't deserve to receive that. And I felt confident enough to congratulate myself, to be proud of myself, and to hold the other person accountable and not take the blame for anything. So, I know I went on a tangent of why you shouldn't lie to yourself and think you're up here when you're not. Let's continue with scripture. But each one must carefully scrutinize his own work, examining his actions, attitudes, and behavior, and then he can have the personal satisfaction and inner joy of doing something commendable without comparing himself to another. So let's work on that tangent I just went on. Instead of me being criticized, instead of you criticizing another person, scrutinize your work carefully first. It doesn't say first here. I'm pretty sure that's the desire, is for you to scrutinize your work and actions, attitudes, behavior before judging someone else, because we do not want hypocrisy. That we don't want that, because if I call you out for doing something and I'm doing the same thing, what does that say about me? What makes it okay for me to do it but not you? We don't want that over here. Again, I would be thinking I'm up here, but you're down here for doing it. It reminds me of that woman that, what she say? She, for calling out the low vibrational plates. And the comments were saying, your plate looks the same as hers. Now, the amounts were different. One woman had more food than the other, but the foods were the same. So I think the woman needed to be specific about that. What about my plate is low vibrational? I know you're not talking about the food because you have it too. So how come you can eat it and I can't? Or when I eat it, it's low vibrational. But if you're calling out the amounts, cool, say that. Check in and say, that looks like a lot of food. Are you used to eating that much? Whatever. Just an example reminded me of that. Now, the beauty in doing that, as I said before, in that tangent I went on, I knew my intentions were genuine, so I was comfortable looking at the other person's actions and rational enough to know that what they were doing was wrong, to hold them accountable. And that took work, a lot of inner work, because I was not always here with this level of growth and wisdom that I have. There was a time, as you've heard in other videos, I had a hard time receiving accountability. I blamed the world and people for what went wrong in my life, when at times it was my fault. And once I learned to look in the mirror and scrutinize myself and my behaviors and actions, I realized the way I was behaving is not what I wanted for myself. And I am improving. That's the best thing I could do for myself, for the people around me as well, and for my environment, because a destructive Andréa is not a good thing. A destructive you is not a good thing. So, clean it up, scrutinize yourself. And you know what's beautiful about that too is that when you scrutinize yourself, nobody has to do it for you. And I know you know how it feels to be scrutinized externally, especially when you think you have it all together. It doesn't feel good. Let's use your breath, for example. I'm sure you would want to know that your breath stinks before someone else has to tell you, because when our breath stinks, we're thinking, or let's say someone tells you, your first thought may be, oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. What will they think of me? Did they think I didn't brush my teeth? Do they think I'm dirty? Will they bring it up and tell other people? Did other people notice? Oh my God. You see how many thoughts? That doesn't feel good. But guess what? When you check your breath, you can say, I'm glad I smelled it before I left the house because I can brush my teeth so that no one comes up to me and says my breath stink, or they won't be startled, etc., etc., etc. Now, y'all know I like to be very specific and think of all the possibilities. Now, even when you do your absolute very best, sometimes people will still have something to say. Your breath can be minty fresh. You can be pleased with your breath, and someone may still come up to you and criticize your breath. Now, we cannot please everyone, and this is where us being pleased is important. Now, if you are pleased with your breath smelling bad and don't care to brush your teeth, that's your business. It may come with rejection and criticism, and if you don't care, this doesn't apply to you. So if you care and you're doing everything in your power and it smells good to you and you're pleased and people still complain, let them complain. Be pleased with yourself. Carry that confidence. It can be your breath, your outfit, the way your hair is, whatever it is that you are happy with. That is where you start, because I think when we are happy with ourselves, it reflects into our interactions. It changes how we feel about ourselves, what we think about ourselves, because if someone else isn't criticizing you, let's say no one else notices that your breath smells bad, and you do, you may be thinking, my breath smells bad. Does anyone notice? I hope no one notices. I'm not going to speak to anyone because I'm afraid they'll smell it and they'll speak badly about me. You have to live with that funk. So if you can't live with the funk, do something differently. And if what you're doing is still not working, keep trying different solutions. Do what you can to get the best possible outcome. Another tangent, but the whole point is check yourself before checking other people, because the last thing you want is to tell someone their breath stinks and they say, well, what about yours? Yours ain't smelling so hot, or we don't want it to be hot. They may tell you, well, yours smells hot too. So who do you think you are? Or let's say you're criticizing someone for driving a certain car and yours isn't better, or something about their car, like they have a dent in their car and you have a dent in your car. Who are you to criticize their dent and you're driving in a dent? How dare you forget what you're going through? How dare you throw what someone else is going through in their face as if you are so special? Don't do it. But going back to the earlier verses, gentleness, restore someone with gentleness. Say, hey, I see you have a dent in your car. I actually have one in mine. I just got a referral and a quote, and someone is willing to fix it. If you don't have someone to check out your dent, would you like this same referral? Boom. You see how you're helping someone in the midst of you being assisted? That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, hold on to that example because I'm going to use that on the pros. I know I'm on the cons a lot. Bear with me. So, and this is last verse, verse 5. For every person will have to bear with patience his own burden of faults and shortcomings for which he alone is responsible. It's there. Every person will have to bear. You will have to, whether you like it or not, whether you want to or not, you will have to bear because it's you. It is your shortcomings. They're there. And they don't have to remain. That is the beauty and joy of life. And every single new moment that we get is that the shortcomings don't have to stay. But the key here is that with patience, you will have to bear that responsibility, which means with patience, those shortcomings can be restored. With patience. Give it some time. Work at it just like everything else. Maybe you've worked at something for 5 years and have been rewarded. 10 years, 20 years, a couple of months. The point is, we all have to bear something for a little bit. You can't ask yourself, when you were first learning to walk, and I say that assuming you've learned to walk before your memory was developed, your brain was developed to hold that memory enough to ask yourself. Or if you were in an accident and you had to go through physical therapy, check in with what that was like. Did you have to relearn something? Whatever the case is. And the point in that example is just, we all have had shortcomings. And with patience, we can overcome that, but we have to carry it. That's just it. And the pros. So, back to that example about a referral for the dent in the car. Now, by helping someone and sharing that referral, that is a way to connect. That is a way to have a conversation. How'd you get that dent? What would you do? And or did something happen? Maybe it's a lesson of caution. Hey, don't do what I did to get this dent. If you don't want a dent in your car, don't do this. Now, what I love about comparison is that we can learn and be curious, and we can explore through those differences. For example, I am shorter than most. You can't tell, can you? I know. I'm pretty tall most days. Um, that's what I like to tell myself. However, I'm on the shorter end, and if someone, when I encounter someone taller than me, instead of carrying that envy and that negative feeling of comparison, just use it as a conversation starter. What is it like for you to be taller? And maybe they want to know what it's like for me to be shorter. What good would it do me to beat myself up for being the height that I am? This is me. I don't want to change it. Are there ways to change it and survive? Highly unlikely. So it's not worth trying to get some knee surgery and to be taller. I am okay with my height. Not always, though, I'll be honest. I did not always enjoy being my height because it came with jokes. And I didn't do too well with jokes back in the day because it felt like a personal attack. And I was so sensitive to jokes because I wanted compliments. So people making fun of me for being short didn't feel good. So anyway, if I use that energy and desire to be tall, okay, wanting to be tall, not a bad thing. How I respond to that desire is what's important. And if it is causing me to think the grass is greener, I am missing out on where I am now, what I have now, and just being grateful that I have a body and to celebrate the body I have and the height that I am, because I am this height for a reason. And now I can embrace it, and it's beautiful. I enjoy being different from most in this regard. Newsflash, we're all different anyway, so embrace the differences, even if you want to change things. That is okay. However, being this height, let's say I wish to be taller. I can ask myself, what do I think being taller will, how do I think being taller would be different? I may be able to reach certain things without a step ladder or having to ask someone else. And how tall would I have to be to do that? Now, let's go to Google. Let's see the tallest recorded person. Tallest recorded person. Alive, because they're showing me 8 feet 1 inches. Whew. Okay, 8'2". Let's just work with that. So, wow, 8 feet 11, and so this man had passed, has since passed. But let's work with that. Let's say 8 feet 11. In order to not need anyone to reach anything for me, and not even just the tallest recorded person. Imagine if I could reach everything in the world by myself. Do you know how tall I would have to be? Do you know what else comes with that? Being able to reach things without help. It's not that deep. I will use the step ladder. That's what they are created for. It's okay to need that help. If I were that tall, I'd be stepping on everything. I could not fit in cars or airplanes. I would have to squat majority of places and bend down and got back problems, and I don't want that life. Just to interact with people, just call me. because I'm not bending down, or I just have to sit. Can you imagine being that tall and having to get up off the floor? I'm exhausted thinking about it. No, thank you. So really, it's like, what is it about being tall? But you know what? That desire to be taller would likely come from wanting to escape the jokes that I received. It's not worth it. People are going to joke because guess what? Being the tallest person in the world, you will likely get made fun of. People get made fun of for having an umbrella in the rain. It's just let people talk, let people do things. The point I'm making is when you want something, do not forget that you have time now, and you may not have everything you want, but if you have some things you want, just one thing you want, find joy in that one thing, and I guarantee that that one thing will open doors for more things for you to enjoy and explore and discover. Because what happens is we often place our happiness on that one thing. If I just had that height, if I were just this tall, life would be better. No one would make fun of me, and we are placing our happiness on the outcome that we think we will receive, and we don't know what that will be. We imagine being happier, which is beautiful. It's okay to want to be happy. Excuse me. Just start now though. Start now. And as people say, a little hiccup there. The grass, we think the grass is green on the other side, then we find out it is not even real grass. It is fake, and then let's say the grass is so high and it's green and beautiful, but you don't see the lower end of the grass that is withered and patchy and not even growing. What do you do then? Just like I learned recently that some people on social media rent families and items to take pictures just for the aesthetic. And they look happy and beautiful and peaceful, and life is swell. And they're putting on the facade that that is the life that they are living. And people viewing that are wanting that and craving it and just wishing for the opportunity to be in their shoes, not realizing what they did to get there. I'm sure you've heard before that it is not a good idea to wish for what another person has and to try to take their place, because you don't know what they had to go through to get where they want to go. Chances are when you find out, you would not like it. Now, that's not always the case. I understand that. The point I'm making is if you want growth, if you want improvement, it is okay. Just celebrate yourself along the way. Celebrate other people and celebrate your life, because that would be a slap in the face if you're putting someone else's life above yours as if it's so magnificent. That is a slap in the face to God, because He has given you so much. It may not seem like it. I get it. At times it may not seem like it. But one thing you have is your life. And if that is not the most important thing, maybe check in with yourself on that, because if you have life, you have opportunity. You can do something with your life. Now, because God has given you everything that you have, it would be a slap in the face to Him, symbolizing that you are ungrateful. And I would not advise playing with God that way. because, and you can imagine being in his place. I'm sure you felt taken advantage of and you snatched it back and said, oh, nope. Since you are ungrateful and unappreciative, bye. I'm taking this back and cutting you loose. Now, a way forward, I think this is important because, as I said, there are healthy ways of comparison, there are unhealthy ways of comparison. And when it comes to making progress, I think we can compare by asking questions, being curious. It's okay to ask people what they did to get where they are. And it's okay to want things. Just don't get so caught up in the future that you are missing now. Because there's a term that I heard recently. Let's see if I can find it, because there was a YouTube video I saw and the woman explained it beautifully. Ooh, it may still be on my watch later, and I have some scrolling to do because that was some time ago. The Spirit of Fantasy, Maladaptive Daydreaming. So I will actually, I think it'll be helpful for you all to check that out. So I will put that information in the description. But I remember that video because, and I don't want to watch the video, but I will explain. Maladaptive daydreaming is excessive daydreaming, a condition where someone becomes so immersed in their imagination that it interferes with their daily life. So that is one of the cons of comparison, where you are daydreaming so much and thinking of, when I have this, life will be better, and you can't even focus on now. You're about to crash that car or burn yourself by touching a hot stove. That, just, it's okay to daydream. It's okay to imagine. Dreams can be beautiful. Dreams can help us create a better reality. I don't want to take that away from you. Just know that there is a time and a place. And if it is getting in your way, it's time to cut those daydreams short and just bring yourself back to the present moment. And I understand the present moment may not always feel good because of our perspectives. We can change that though. We have to look at what is good about this present moment, because again, when we lack things, it is easy to get sucked into a rabbit hole and that feeling of void. And often people daydream to escape reality. So find comfort in now. That is the best thing you can do for yourself. And the way you can do that is by sitting in the now through each moment, because it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be forced. Don't rush it. Don't cause yourself unnecessary harm. If your body is literally saying, I can't tolerate this, it's okay. Take a break. Daydream for a little bit. Let's say your comfort in being present with yourself and your thoughts and your current circumstances is about 5 minutes. And at that 5 minute threshold, you say, all right, I've thought about this for as long as I could. I'm feeling anxious, overwhelmed, uncomfortable. I cannot do this anymore. Okay, 5 minutes is good. Celebrate what you can do. At least you can do something. Let's say the next time you sit with your experience, 5 minutes and a couple of seconds, Next thing you know, you've worked your way up to being able to sit in that experience for 30 minutes. Work your way up. As I've said in yesterday's video, everything we do is a practice. Every time we show up, we are practicing to become better, to improve. You don't have to be perfect. And it may not look like yesterday. However, that does not erase the progress that you have made. The progress you've made is still progress. If you are not able to be at 30 minutes all the time, sometimes you're less than 30 minutes, that is okay, because you are still doing something by showing up and trying to be present. Honor that. Don't beat on yourself, because our circumstances change so much. Maybe you're tired and sitting in the present moment is mentally draining. You need to go to sleep. That's okay. Maybe you have to go to work or your attention is called somewhere else. Maybe it doesn't have to be 30 minutes straight out. Let's say you do 30 minutes a day, but you block it, you do it in increments. There are so many options. Find what works for you. The point in everything I am saying is to be present when it's time. Have fun and think about the future. Allow yourself to look forward to things. Find that beautiful balance. I needed that deep breath. If you would like one, now is the time. I will instruct you through a deep breath. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Inhale for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, this next breath, let's get specific. On the count of 3, I want you to inhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Exhale through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, this is the last one. On the count of 3. Inhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fill that belly. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Keep practicing that if you need to. Replay this part if you need to. Fill that belly up, and when you exhale, release. Shake it off, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. I get it. The information I'm sharing is heavy, and soak it in, meditate on it. Sometimes learning itself can be exhausting, so go easy on yourself. Just don't give up. Be patient. And know that the storm can and will pass. When? We don't know. That is beyond our control. But with God, find comfort and peace and trust in Him, and know that He has your back, front, side, and will cover you and protect you if you seek Him. You must seek Him. You must seek Him. Show God that you need Him, that you want Him in your life, and He will love on you so beautifully. It is the best kind of love. I promise you it is. It is beautiful. It is comforting. It is restorative. Allow Him to just love on you. His love just covers you like a warm blanket on a cold, rainy day. It's when you get in bed and you rub your toesies together because it feels so good to be in bed after a long day. That's what God's love feels like. So, thank you for tuning in. Take the best of care of yourselves. Love on one another with discernment. There will likely be a video on what I mean by that, because I'll just say quickly, not everyone deserves your attention. So there are ways to love without giving parts of yourself. Sometimes silence to avoid saying something hurtful is love. So you don't have to clap back and fight. Remain silent. And walking away can also be a form of love, to avoid doing something destructive. So when you interact with people, fill your heart with the intention of love and care. Always. Until next time. Bye bye.